Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Nintendo Wii U and compare it against the standard Nintendo Switch, the Nintendo Switch 1, and see how both these consoles hold up in 2025. Now, one of the biggest key takeaways is the Switch 2 is about to be coming out very soon, so you might just want to wait off and hold off until that console comes out. Switch 1 prices are going to go down, but Wii U prices may end up going up, so kind of keep that in mind. The way these two consoles worked were very interesting, because the Wii U was this tablet hybrid console, so it had the screen, it had the controls, but in a way, the Wii U came out, and then it flopped in terms of sales, and then the Switch 2 quickly came out, replaced it. They took all the good things about the Wii U, they made it a little bit better, and then they eventually released the Switch, which I think was a hit. Everyone knows it's a hit. It made Nintendo a bunch of money, and now they made the Switch 2. When you take a look at the outside of both these consoles, there's a lot of things you're going to have to keep in mind here. Number one, with the Wii U, this is a console and it's a tablet. It's not a portable console. You have to be around the Wii U at all times, the hardware itself, in order to use it. Don't just buy the tablet expecting that to work on its own, because you have to play the games from the actual plug-in console that you plug into the TV. But that console was pretty good. The display itself was decent, had massive bezels on it, had a camera on it as well. But it was a really cool concept, but it just didn't really take off that well. The Switch 1, this is a hybrid console. So whether you get the Switch 1 or the OLED console, these are hybrids. The Switch Lite is a little bit different, but even with the Switch Lite, there's still a lot of power behind that console as well in its small form factor. That console, you're able to go ahead and plug it up to a dock, you're able to take it wherever you want to, and there's a lot of capability behind that console, and I love that device so much. So when it comes down to that side, you're definitely getting an advantage with the Switch because it is more portable. From a power standpoint, the Wii U was kind of a little bit more powerful in different ways than the Switch. So the Wii U was kind of more in line with something like a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One. The Switch 1, it's kind of interesting. It's maybe more in line with something a little bit more powerful than a PlayStation 3. But I feel like in most ways, the Wii U was actually more powerful. But Nintendo learned from their past. They weren't trying to go and make the most powerful console of all time. I would say the Switch was maybe on par with something like the Wii U, but not quite as much. And because of that, there were some things that they had to do, but when you take a look at some of the games that came out for both these consoles, take a look at Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, it still visually looks really good on the Switch 1, and even though it was tailored kind of more so for the Wii U, when the Switch version came out, it was also still very, very good in my personal opinion. They came out at the same time, but you'll see that kind of going on forward, even with like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, that game still looks very, very good, and if you don't compare them side by side, you probably wouldn't be able to tell that big of a difference, honestly, anyways. When it comes down to kind of the gaming library, the Switch and the Wii U are a little bit different because the Switch probably has a better gaming library, especially with Nintendo Switch Online or Nintendo Online. They've been able to port a lot of these emulators over into the Nintendo Switch. With the Wii U, they had some, Nintendo-ware, games that you can kind of, go through and install, but it really is not as robust as something like the Switch. And if you're trying to go ahead and play online, the Switch is by far going to be a better option. There's so many players currently playing online inside of the Switch, where the Wii U, it's not really giving you that anymore unless you have a modded Switch. So that right there is going to be a very big thing to keep in mind. When it does come down to the future of these consoles, well, you still have games that are available on both these consoles. But the Switch is the current generation. That is the one that's probably going to be giving you the better longevity when it comes down to it, looking at the future. Because I still would imagine there's still going to be some Switch 1 games coming out. In fact, Nintendo just had a direct last week where they basically were still saying that there's some games coming out for the Switch and they released them. So I think that's pretty big. The Wii U got its last game, I think years ago. Especially its main game was years ago. It barely even sold. There were barely even a lot of games that came out for this console. Because that console was considered more of a failure, the Switch, with it having 150 million plus units, where the Wii U was 13.56 units, that in and of itself is a very, very big difference. So personally for me, I think that is one of the biggest key takeaways here when it comes down to it, is that when you're looking at these two consoles, you're going to have to think about the future. Do you want to go ahead and buy a console and have it, kind of have a little bit of a gaming library, but have it go up in value? Then the Wii U might be the one for you. Because you can buy a Wii U, buy some games for it in a used market, spend some money, but within the next year or two, it might actually go up in value. The Switch, on the other hand, it's a better console. It just makes more sense to go ahead and buy. It's going to be able to output in probably similar to same resolution depending on which way you're trying to go. There's way more games available for the Switch. It's easier to buy, it might be cheaper than the Wii U in the used market, and because there's still games coming out for it and there's a community behind them, it makes so much more sense to buy something like a Nintendo Switch in 2025 than the Nintendo Wii U. So in terms of that basically covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that helps me so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.